community banks. Economic freedom and personal freedom run hand in hand. In order to ensure personal freedoms, Americans need access to credit. Individuals need access to credit on behalf of their families and their businesses. That is why I am proud to have introduced this bill. H.R. 4771 is a very simple bill to help small banks, savings and loan companies get access to the capital they need to make credit available in their communities. These small banking institutions are critical to people in the local communities in which they reside. They support the credit needs of families, small businesses, farmers, and entrepreneurs. Community banks are often the principal lending source for many people, whether they're purchasing a home, starting a business. In many counties around the nation, our community banks is the only banking presence that residents have. When these community banking institutions are overwhelmed with regulations and mandates, many of which are meant for larger institutions, it is hardworking families and low-income Americans in those communities that suffer. Mr. Speaker, this bill is about people. Community banks give people the credit they need to pursue their dreams, to buy a home, to buy a car, to own and grow their business. In fact, proximity to a community bank increases the chance that a small business would be approved for a loan that they need to succeed. By raising the consolidated asset threshold under the Federal Reserve's Small Bank Holding Company policy statement from $1 billion to $3 billion in assets, hundreds of additional small banks and thrift holding companies will qualify for the coverage under the policy statement and therefore be exempt from certain and capital guidelines. These capital standards were originally established for larger institutions and disproportionately harm small holding companies. Many holding companies that are above the current threshold face challenges with regards to capital formation, just when regulators are demanding higher capital levels. The exemptions provided under the policy statement make it easier for a small holding company to raise capital and issue debt. This is about making sure that regulations fit the size of the institution. Mr. Speaker, a similar effort was passed into law during the 113th Congress under suspension by the House and by unanimous consent in the Senate. That bill raised the threshold from $500 million, where it has been since 1996, to $1 billion. That legislation also extended the exemption to savings and loan holding companies. While we're glad that we were able to achieve that increase, which roughly helped 500 small banks and thrift holding companies, why wouldn't we extend those benefits further? H.R. 4771 would bring even more small institutions within the scope of the policy statement. We've already seen the benefits of the last increase. One success story, what we've heard, was an instance where 35 bank holding companies pooled their resources together to issue debt under the policy statement. That debt was then downstreamed to their respective banks, where the capital was then used to make loans in the communities they serve, illustrating the great multiplier effect that the policy statement can produce. H.R. 4771 seeks to extend that flexibility and success to a greater number of small institutions and communities they serve. Opponents of this increase have alleged that changing the regulatory threshold would put community and deposit insurance funds at higher risk. But the policy statement contains not one, but several safeguards designed to ensure that the small bank holding companies that operate with the higher levels of debt permitted under the policy statement do not present an undue risk to the safety and the soundness of the subsidiary banks. Mr. Speaker, to sum it up, this bill is not about supporting banks. It's about supporting families. It's about supporting communities and small business. It's about making sure that small business owners have the access to the credit they need to expand and to thrive. I've recently heard of a business owner in my community that employs about 30 people. Most of these people that she employs are women who are trying to take care of their families and make a little bit more so that they could put some money in their pocket or buy a car. She would like to expand her business.
I
But
yield the gentlelady an additional 30 seconds.
thank you. She would like to expand her business.
Recognized for additional 30 seconds.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. She would like to expand her business to employ even more people, but she continuously receives red tape, and it makes it very difficult for her to be able to provide for her community. This is about families sitting around their kitchen table imagining the possibilities of renovating their home, and the entrepreneur dreaming to start a restaurant or being her own boss. Raising the threshold receives strong bipartisan support in Financial Services Committee, and I hope that it will receive equal support in